We've got a video by TheLazyPeon called Ashes of Creation is absolutely smashing it in 2022. So we just got bashed on Ashes of Creation by the last video, Force Gaming, that we watched. Let's see what TheLazyPeon has to say.
Ladies and gents, the time is once again upon us where I feel the need to make another Ashes of Creation update video, because the last 3 months of Ashes live streams have each shown considerable progress.
Yes.
Unfortunately for me, this means that certain parts of that big overview update video I made for Ashes 3 months ago is already out of date.
True.
No worries though, just means more potential content in the future. So today we're going to discuss the updates from the live streams in August, September and October.
Okay.
Covering topics such as the updated world map and world size, the basic hybrid combat system for the Ranger archetype, the newly showcased gathering system which completely blew me away, and some spiciness in the Ashes of Creation community.
Alright.
If you want to support my Ashes of Creation coverage, then click my...
Is anybody else excited for Ashes of Creation? Am I the only one? Come on, this game looks awesome.
My referral link, which everyone has access to, in the description below. Additionally, if you're a talented developer, Ashes of Creation are currently hiring people for the following job role.
Hey man, he's even putting the feelers out there for them. Hey, come get a job with Ashes of Creation. Hey, maybe I'll hit him up. You never know. Could be cool. Could be pretty cool. Executive assistant? Oh, come on, man. I could answer some questions and answer phone calls, you know, answer emails. I could do that. Nice. That's awesome, though.
On screen. And from November 4th to November 5th, the Ashes team are doing their yearly 24-hour Pathfinder livestream set in the world of Vera to raise money for San Diego Children's Hospital. So first, let's
that is cool. Doing, like, children's hospital work, that's awesome.
Discuss the most recent Ashes live stream, as for me personally this was the one that surprised me the most, the update to the game's gathering system.
Yes.
So in the past when I've covered this game during its Alpha 1 test back in 2021, something that felt pretty bad to me was the gathering system.
Okay.
You'd see tons of trees, rocks and plants.
Oh, that's right. Of course, TheLazyPeon, he gets into all the alphas for the new MMOs, right? He is the MMO YouTuber. Well, one of them, but he's the, like, when I think of MMO YouTubers, I think of him.
In the world, but you could only mine, chop, or gather the things that had a gold sparkle around them.
Right. And we saw that in one of the previous reaction videos that we did. The early gathering system was kind of like a gold sparkle system. They were trying to make it really obvious what things you could gather.
At a time when New World had just released the best MMO gathering system we'd ever seen, with every...
Yeah, I gotta be honest. New World's gathering system is pretty legit. It's so in-depth and, like, clean. It's clean.
Resource you can see being gatherable. The Ashes system felt kinda lackluster in comparison. This wasn't something that I personally expected to change, as the game was already super ambitious. It was kind of unreasonable to think that they'd also add the New World style gathering system on top of everything else they were doing. Well, turns out that isn't the case.
I love the new UI.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, the UI does look clean.
Get ready. It's happening. Oh my gosh.
And the tree falls.
Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely.
I can definitely see some inspiration from New World. Or maybe they already had this planned, but I kind of doubt it. It looks definitely inspired by New World. It was so clean, just like a simple tink, tink, tink around the circle of the UI there.
Talk to me a little bit about
nice.
A nice widened shape to scan as much of the area as possible.
The Mad Lads at Intrepid actually did it. Every tree, rock or plant you see in the world is now gatherable.
That's awesome.
Not only that, but they also added physics and collision to gathering too. Notice how the tree falls, then bounces off the giant rock. Look at the way the branches...
That's awesome! Ah. Just those little touches like that. I love stuff like that. Give me the details. Give me the little effects. Give me everything. I'm so happy. Like, that just makes it that much more real. Ashes of Creation.
Actually have weight to them when it falls, and the way dust kicks up from the ground as it lands. The game's not even in
Nice.
Alpha 2 yet, and visually, The Gathering looks more satisfying than any other MMO, perhaps with the exception of New World. Mining
That
rocks
looks
and
pretty
Ashes
sick.
of Creation also seems more interesting than the standard MMO, as most of the time you won't know what mineral is inside until
Oh.
you've split the rock open and can see the contents. Here, for example, you can see that the
Interesting.
rock contains iron ore, but before you've mined it, you wouldn't know. With some randomness to this
That's interesting. Okay. And I mean, honestly, that makes sense. That makes sense, like, real world. Because you go up to a random rock and start mining, unless the vein is actually visible on top, which is not the norm, you will not know what's in there. So this is actually more realistic than other MMOs where they always show you the vein. Like, it's always obvious what you're mining. You know, it may be a little frustrating for some people, but the realism of this, I really like.
system, it would kind of prevent the problem that New World had for a while of bots just camping orichalcum veins.
That is so true. Yes, this is a bot like battling mechanism. I mean, you could still have bots run to the same block and just mine it over and over and over, but the bots can no longer target specifically like, oh, I'm going to get all the iron in this area. You know, nobody else is going to be able to get iron because I'm mining it constantly.
In the world 24/7. Harvesting
awesome.
also looks really nice, and Steven mentioned that some of the plants will be seasonal, some
I love that. The little petals fall off when you harvest it. That's so cool.
only growing in the winter and others only available in the summer.
That looks so clean.
During this live stream for demonstration purposes, they had the respawn rates turned up extremely high. Resources won't respawn this fast in the live game.
I mean, that
but
makes
it's cool
sense.
that they've animated the process of trees slowly regrowing.
Yeah, that's
It kind of
cool.
reminded me of seeing trees in Arcade slowly grow and only be
That's actually sick. Just adding all these little effects. It's like, okay, hey, the spawn is coming back. It's getting there. This tree is going to be ready to cut soon.
gatherable once fully matured. Other aspects
cool.
of gathering that were mentioned include things like a surveying skill to help identify resources in an area.
Okay.
Multiplayer gathering is something that's being looked into, so similar to Lost Ark, if two players go to chop a tree, then they'll saw it down together.
That is cool. That is really cool. So even if people are competing for resources, it's no longer competition. It's like sharing. It's a share resource system, a share gathering system versus a competitive one. I actually like that, because then it's not like, oh, I ran all this way to find this one special, you know, high level tree that I just got to level 100 whatever wood cutting to get. And oh, this guy got it before, or got here slightly before me, so his animation's gonna finish first and he gets it. It's like, no, we can both cut it and we both get the result of it.
And
That's
apparently
nice.
land management is also going to be a factor. If too many people constantly ravage a certain area for its resources, then those resources might respawn slower. Overall,
Even more realism. Because if you grow, if you grow the same crop on the same soil for too long, it like kills the soil or something, and you have to grow something else, or like you have to like basically redo the soil. Like I'm not an agriculture specialist, but basically it's something like that. Like if you grow something too long on a patch of soil, it like kills it. And so they're basically implementing that. Like, if you farm this too hard, it like kills the land a little bit. That's crazy.
I was extremely impressed by this early look at the new gathering system for the game, and I expect it to improve even more as development goes on with further polish,
Get better and
improved
better.
animations, and balancing. They've literally taken the best part of New World and put it in there.
I mean, come on. Isn't this gathering system incredible? Can we get behind this gathering system, people? Is it exciting? Is it incredible? Let's hear it. I want to know what you have to say. Tell me. Tell me.
Their game, as if the hype levels couldn't go any
Hey,
higher.
there's broccoli.
Moving on to the September livestream, we saw a preview of the updated hybrid combat system for the Ranger class archetype.
Yes.
And holy shit.
It looks
Look
so
at the
fun.
audio-visual feedback on display here.
Oh, that too.
That guy down. So they, in the intervening time, they've
I mean, I gushed over this already. The audio sounds good. The visuals look great. The feel of it, like the slow pull and the tension that you feel, feels amazing.
Stronger, they've kind of found some techniques,
Oh, yeah.
some help.
Oh, yeah.
More powerful. You can hold this, and when you see that little flash there, at
The
end,
screen
that
pull
indicates
in
that it's
too.
fully
I didn't
charged.
notice that
That's
before.
a strong ability.
Airstrike does a lot of things.
I love airstrike.
And the
That is such a cool ability.
So, the targets.
That's so cool.
It's definitely up there.
Yes.
That ability is so rad.
I love that you can see the limbs of the bow flexing for the powerful attacks.
Yes.
You can hear the tension in the strings, the whistling of the arrow as it flies through the air.
Yes.
As well as impactful hit effects.
Yes.
My favorite ability displayed was airstrike. Leaping through the air, excellent
Mine too.
mobility, raining down arrows in the process.
Yes, yes.
This has got to be up there as one of the coolest ranger abilities I've ever seen in an MMORPG.
Same. Absolutely. Same for me.
Something you've probably noticed about the Ranger
amazing.
Combat Showcase is that it leaned a bit more to the tab targeting style rather than the action combat style that was shown off with the Greatsword in the past.
Okay.
Apparently, some people were upset with this and was expecting full action combat, which has never been the goal of Ashes at any point.
Yeah, yeah.
The goal has always been hybrid combat system where you press a hotkey to
Right,
switch
right.
between the two modes of tab and action. When you do use the bow in action mode, you can use your abilities and attack even if you don't have a target selected, just like in Guild Wars 2.
I do like that.
I think some people have concerns
just to play, just to have the option to play around with abilities, and like, I guess for people who like to flaunt their stuff, right, to other players, you know, they can just show off their cool abilities that they've got. I just like it to be able to do for myself. Like, oh, look at this flashy ability. I love it. It's so cool, you know? Like, that's sweet.
about balancing between tab and action, but at this point I think it's the kind of thing that needs to be tested and balanced before we
Yes.
debate it too much.
Yes, yes.
Personally, I'd expect certain classes to work better in action mode, such as warriors with their cleaving attacks.
That makes sense.
And other classes to work better in tab targeting, such as rangers that are primarily known for single target focused
Right.
DPS.
Right. That
That
does
being
make sense.
said, the combat design goal is also that you can create different builds that are more action or tab depending on your preference.
Customization, a very key word, yes. And they're doing it well, so far as I can tell. And yeah, it's really exciting. You guys, you got to be excited about this game, right? I mean, it's delivering on so many levels. The only thing that I would love to hear more about from the Ashes of Creation team is the PvP and the emphasis on it. Is this game going to be hugely like PvP emphasized? I really hope not, because as I've mentioned before, just a little bit earlier actually with the Riot MMO, I much prefer like a PvE endgame. So, we'll see. But I kind of hope it's not so much PvP.
As we've only seen...
I mean, I know they're doing the sea warfare, which is hugely like PvP. But anyway.
Basic ranger attack plus 3 abilities, I don't think you should throw your toys out the pram just yet, as I'm sure there'll be more action combat centric ranger builds possible in the future as more abilities are added. As a whole though, I've been super impressed.
Yeah, I don't think the model of like 3 abilities like New World is the way to go. I think people with MMOs, they really like to have just a copious amount of abilities to use. Even if it's just like one hotbar of like 1 through 9, right? So you have 9 abilities that you can use. I think that would make people a lot happier than just 3. I don't know, because even just 3 amazing abilities, I feel like they could get kind of old just spamming those 3 over and over, and it doesn't give you a lot of utility, right? Because in other MMOs, having so many abilities, you can do so many different things. You can be buffing or debuffing, and then doing your damage or healing or whatever. And with 3 abilities, it's like, okay, I have maybe 1 buff, and then 1 debuff, and then my damage. I don't know, it just, yeah. I hope they add more.
Impressed with the past 2 combat showcases. The game's come a long way since Alpha 1,
Yeah.
and I personally can't wait to see what they do with mage combat.
Yes.
I've said multiple times in the past that I expect Ashes...
I do love me some mages. I want to know what they do too. Isn't that exciting? Like, they're already doing well with the ranger combat and the melee. What are they gonna do with the mage? What do you guys think?
Combat to be similar to
curious.
Guild Wars 2, but better. More impactful, more grounded, with better audio-visual feedback.
Yes.
So far, it seems like my prediction for this is on target to come true. Next up, the development livestream from August, and this was the one that made my most recent Ashes vid outdated 2 weeks after it released. Thanks for that, Stephen. So previously, the world size was 480 kilometers squared, and the world would contain 103 regular nodes.
Right.
This is a picture of the old world map. After some internal testing, though...
And look at that. Even that, I mean, that looks big. I mean, you know, it's hard to tell scale just from looking at the map, but it looks big.
The team realized that it needed to be rebalanced, as with 103 nodes on a 480 square kilometer map, there wasn't enough space between the nodes.
Yeah.
This is the new Ashes of Creation map. This one is 1,200 kilometers squared, and instead of 103 regular nodes, it's been reduced down to 85.
Holy crap! That is massive. Can we all agree? Can we all agree it's massive? And they added all this space on purpose for the sea warfare, for the PvP. Because if you're going to have sea warfare PvP, you kind of have to have a lot of sea, right? Smart move, I think.
So the world size has essentially increased by 2.5x.
Yeah.
Some would say this is feature creep, but the fact that they've actually...
No. I do not think this is feature creep or scope creep, because it was already something they had planned, and they adapted the world around their already planned feature, right? So it's like, okay, we want to have open sea PvP. Okay, well, our sea is not very big, so we need to make it bigger. Okay. Makes sense, let's do it. And so they adjust the map accordingly. I think that's entirely appropriate and smart of them to do, because it could have been super lackluster and disappointing on release if the sea was just super small, like they're constantly running into like land areas, or, you know, running out of room to have these open sea battles. This was a smart move, I think.
Reduced the number of nodes, I would have to disagree, and I see it more as rebalancing.
Exactly.
Just to give some context to the scale of this world, Stephen said it would take roughly 75 minutes to travel from the top of a continent to the bottom on foot, and 50 minutes to travel from the top to the bottom on a mount.
That's crazy.
That's one giant-ass world.
That's
huge, I think it
yeah.
takes roughly 1 hour to run on foot from the top of Eastern Kingdoms to the bottom in WoW. So maybe it's a similar size or slightly larger. And that doesn't take into consideration the mass...
That's insane. Think about this. WoW has been in development for years. Like what? Since 2004, 2006, right? So 16 years? And this game just coming out is going to compete on scale. That's insane.
Massive, fully explorable ocean with islands.
Crazy.
I just hope that 10,000 concurrent players per server is enough to make such a large world feel populated.
Yeah.
It was during this live stream that Stephen also mentioned that the open seas will be open PvP zones. A controversial decision, but one of the game's major design pillars is risk versus reward. There will be alternate methods of travel you could take to avoid PvP, such as flight paths between coastal nodes and airships, but
I like that. So you don't have to partake in PvP. I do like that.
These methods will not allow the transit of gatherables. The way I see it is that the open seas in Ashes of Creation is kinda similar to RuneScape's Wilderness.
Well, okay, so there's some give and take, but I mean, hey, that's to be expected, I think, right?
It will probably be a place where you can make some of the best money in the game. However, you're going to need to be on guard at all times. Even if you disagree with this
high risk, high reward. Makes sense.
Decision and aren't interested in actually partaking in the PvP, it's undeniable that there's a certain level of thrill associated with the possibility of being hunted down by other players.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Even if you don't want to partake in the PvP necessarily, but you want the thrill. So you go out, you take that chance. Okay, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try and get this new treasure spot that I saw on Reddit or whatever. And you go out and you try and get it. and you know you're competing with other people, but you're going to try. Like, okay, maybe I'll watch this group. Maybe when they leave, I'll wait for the timer or whatever. I don't, this is just throwing stuff out there, but dang. The thrill.
In RuneScape, for example, the Wilderness contains some of the best money-making PvE mobs in the game for players to farm.
Right.
Does the fact that these players are sometimes hunted deter them? Not really. Instead, PvE players develop methods to run away, make things harder for PKers, and give themselves the best chance of escape with their loot intact. I'd expect it to be possible to do something similar in Ashes. Create specific builds or craft certain ships that allow PvE players to have a...
Yeah, maybe you can spec out your ship to be fully, like, speed-oriented at the cost of combat ability. But you do that on purpose to just get in there real quick, get the super awesome loot or whatever, and then get out.
A better chance of success in the game of cat and mouse on the seas of Vera.
Yeah.
Finally, to wrap up this video, we've had a bit of drama in the Ashes of Creation community recently.
Oh, we love drama. Let's hear it.
Following a video by Lucky Ghost bringing up concerns about the potentially polarizing nature of the PvP flagging system in Ashes of Creation. My take on this is that the video was pretty good and brought up some valid concerns that are clearly shared by a lot of people. However, I don't see the point in speculating too much about things that may or may not be design issues until we've had the chance to play and test the game.
Makes sense.
If the system is dog shit and the vast majority of people complain about it, then I think Intrepid will change things, but I don't see the point in doing so.
Intrepid seems to have their ear to the ground and their finger on the pulse of their community. So I really feel strongly that if any aspect of this game is like severely lacking, they will change it for the better.
So until we know the specifics of how players will inevitably abuse the system. This video is also...
I mean, come on. Players are always going to find a way to abuse a system if they can, right?
Also brought up the debate on if the game should have separate PvP and PvE servers. And personally...
That's a good point. Maybe PvE and PvP servers being separate is a good idea. I kind of like that idea.
I think that's a bad idea because Steven has spent years designing this game with the intention that PvP is a major component that makes accomplishments have meaning. It's so deeply integrated into the game that having a new world style toggle or separate servers is going to fuck up a lot of systems.
The corruption system.
What's the point of the entire caravan system with localized storage without the risk of PvP when you're transferring your goods?
True.
It's just going to feel like a system designed to waste your time. How about the game's bounty hunter system? Just delete it? Change the feeling of the open seas from being risk versus reward content where you're sailing around looting treasure whilst avoiding pirates, to being a pirateless ocean that you just numlock from one side to the other?
That would be kind of boring,
for separate PvP and PvE servers, you're basically asking the developers to balance two different versions of the game due to how PvP is so deeply integrated into every system.
He does make some good points, yeah. If it's really like important to the game design, right? Then it would really suck to take out the PvP or split the servers into PvP versus PvE. So I do understand. I do understand the points. It doesn't make me love PvP anymore, but maybe it's good in the context of this game.
Sure, PvP and PvE servers can work in theme park MMOs like WoW, because PvP isn't so deeply tied into the systems and reward structure of the game. Imagine you're on a PvP server and a world boss spawns during a certain time window. After 2 hours, the boss will despawn. Maybe the boss isn't mechanically hard, but takes an hour to take down. The challenge is fending off other guilds also trying to contest the boss for a long period of time. Such an encounter would feel like a King of the Hill style engagement, and would probably reward great loot. This same boss on a PvE server would be boring as hell, because it's a sack of health in which the challenge was killing it whilst fending off other players. This boss would be killed on cooldown every day on a PvE server, whereas on a PvP server there might be some days where no single guild can take it down. I just feel like the way Ashes of Creation is designed...
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Because PvE servers it is constantly like that, where it's just on cooldown, things are being taken down. But PvP, maybe you don't want to engage because you don't have all your guild members there, because you know you're going to need to fight off 2 other guilds. You're all 3 trying to take it down. You have to work together because it's so hard. But then at the end of it, you're fighting to see who gets the loot, basically. Oh, that's interesting.
Having a PvE server would almost feel like a tourist mode, because so much of the emotion and challenge in the game's experience will come from friction between players.
Yeah, it's part of the game design.
Additionally, whenever
PvP
a game
is built
takes
in.
such a massive deviation from their core vision and removes something that previously touches every system in the game, it typically doesn't go so well. So like I said, let's see how the current system works first.
I like these little goblins, by the way. They just look, I don't know, it's fun and cute.
It's not as if there's no successful open PvP games. Lineage 2 was massive during its time.
Yeah.
Arcade was huge at release, but died due to reasons unrelated to its PvP system.
Okay.
And Black Desert Online has done pretty well over the years, with a ton of pure PvE life skiller players enjoying it, despite its highly flawed flagging system.
Okay.
If anyone can design an open world PvP flagging system that actually works well, I think Intrepid are the ones to do it. Who knows,
Nice.
if they actually do a good job, we might see more people start to see the
LazyPeon's got some faith in these guys, just like me. I feel pretty good about it.
value in the risk versus reward aspects that PvP can bring to an MMO. I can totally understand why people are so against PvP though, because in the past, let's be honest, other games have done a really bad job with it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's true.
Oh my god. This guy's a clown. This guy is such a shill. And nobody should be supporting this guy.
And to the people shitting on Lucky Ghost for having a Raid Shadow Legends ad in his video, I think that's kinda pathetic, honestly. If you was in his position and you knew the numbers behind YouTube, you would also take that ad. If you're putting an opinion out there on the internet for thousands of nerds to argue over, you're fucking stupid if you're not getting paid well for it.
Good
the amount
point.
of abuse
Good
that
point.
content creators deal with for simply having a different opinion can heavily affect mental health.
Yeah.
Most people skip these ads anyway. Anyone with a brain knows it's just reading from a script to get paid.
Exactly.
And putting these small, easy to skip ads in videos often results in you getting paid 5 times the amount you...
Especially for people who get demonetized a lot. Like, I don't feel bad at all about... Or, I don't mind at all for people who need to make some money because they're just getting demonetized because YouTube's system sucks. It's like, yeah, it makes sense.
...you'd get from regular
Run some
YouTube
ads.
AdSense. Remember that life is also an MMORPG and you need money to play it. But
Yep.
that's it for this Ashes of Creation update video. We've covered...
Dang, that was good, man. That was good. If you guys liked this video, please check out TheLazyPeon on YouTube. Subscribe, watch his stuff. It's pretty good. He's really good, man. He makes detailed videos, and I like his accent. What can I say? Oh man, that was awesome.